Imagine trying to catch a highly sophisticated bank robber, but you have absolutely no idea what a bank is or, how a vault works or even what money looks like.
Right, which sounds like a terrible comedy sketch.
It really does. But it's actually, it's the exact problem facing thousands of financial compliance officers and legal professionals today. So welcome to the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Today, our source material is the official syllabus and course details for the Certificate in Fund Administration.
Yeah, provided by CLTI, which is a sister organization to the International Compliance Association.
Exactly. And our mission for this deep dive is very specific for you, the listener. We are going to see how this simple 20-hour course acts as a skeleton key.
A skeleton key to unlock the notoriously complex, jargon-heavy, trillion-dollar global fund industry.
Right, because, looking at this document, it's fascinating.
It is, because the financial industry typically operates like an impenetrable fortress. The terminology, the acronyms, the complex mathematics, it all acts as a very effective moat.
Oh, absolutely. It keeps the general public out.
Exactly. And it keeps the insiders insulated. But this syllabus acts as a blueprint for the machinery inside that fortress.
Yeah, we're going to look at how it translates incredibly dense financial operations into, digestible foundational principles.
So, okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, let's do it. Because we aren't just going to read a course catalog to you. We want to look at this source material as a reflection of how the fund industry actually operates behind closed doors.
Right. And to do that, before we even look at the curriculum, we really need to look at who they are trying to teach.
Yeah, the audience. Because when I hear the phrase fund administration, I picture this hyper-specific back office desk job.
Oh, for sure.
Like I picture someone whose entire life is just staring at spreadsheets, tracking decimals for a mutual fund all day.
But the target audience listed here tells a completely different story. It really is arguably the most revealing part of the entire syllabus.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, they are explicitly targeting regulatory and financial crime compliance professionals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're marketing this to accountants, auditors, lawyers, company secretaries. They even list investment managers and IT support staff for custodians, banks, and trusts.
Wait, IT staff, that list stopped me in my tracks. Are we training accountants here or are we training financial detectives?
A bit of both, honestly.
Making a solicitor or an IT guy take a course in fund administration feels a bit like, making a hospital security guard take a course in basic open heart surgery.
That's a great analogy.
Why on earth does a financial crime compliance officer need to know the nuts and bolts of fund administration? Why not just hire a finance expert to do the finance stuff?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains a fundamental challenge in modern policing and regulation.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about what a financial crime compliance professional actually does on a day-to-day basis. They are looking for anomalies.
Right, the red flags.
Exactly. They're hunting for money laundering or systemic fraud or, subtle regulatory breaches. But how can you possibly spot an anomaly if you do not understand the baseline?
Ah, I see. So you can't tell what looks wrong if you don't know what right is supposed to look like in the first place?
Precisely. Let's say you're a compliance officer looking at a spreadsheet, right? And you see a sudden, massive injection of cash into a specific asset.
Which seems super suspicious.
Right. But if you don't know that this particular type of fund is legally structured to be highly illiquid, meaning money shouldn't be moving in and out of it rapidly at all, you might just gloss right over it.
Oh, because you just think it's normal business activity.
Exactly. To police a system, you must first understand its basic plumbing. Like, if a lawyer is reviewing the documentation for a new investment vehicle, they can't just rely on surface-level legal jargon.
They need to understand how the water flows through the pipes.
Yes. This certificate is designed to teach those adjacent professionals how the engine actually works, so they can do their own specialized jobs effectively.
Wow, okay. That reframes things completely. You cannot catch a money launderer if you don't understand the financial vehicle they're using to move the cash.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the actual plumbing. What are they learning? The syllabus breaks the foundation of the fund industry down into 6 core pillars.
It does.
But let's avoid just, walking through this like a boring table of contents. I want to look at these 6 pillars as the actual life cycle of building a fund. Let's say you and I are starting a massive investment fund today.
Okay, I like it.
So pillar 1 is fund industry basics.
Which is essentially assembling the crew. Before you build anything, you need to understand the roles.
Yeah.
Like, who is the custodian actually holding the assets?
Right, who has the money?
Yeah, and who is the administrator crunching the daily numbers? Who is the investment manager making the actual trading decisions? You have to learn the terminology of the team.
Right. And once we have the crew, we move to pillar 2, which is fund structures.
Yeah, the structure.
In the source material, this is about identifying the different legal ways these entities are built. Here's where it gets really interesting. I like to think of this as choosing a vehicle for a road trip.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
Like, are we building an open-ended fund or a closed-ended fund?
And that is a crucial distinction that trips up a lot of people outside the industry. Let's use your vehicle analogy. An open-ended fund is, it's like a public bus.
Okay, a public bus.
Right. Passengers or investors can get on and get off at almost any stop. New money comes in, new shares are created, money wants to leave, shares are redeemed.
So the size of the fund constantly expands and contracts based on demand.
Exactly. It's fluid.
And a closed-ended fund.
A closed-ended fund is more like a rocket ship.
Oh, I love that.
You raise a specific amount of money from investors up front, everyone gets on board, the doors lock, and it launches.
And you're stuck.
Pretty much. No one else is getting on, and nobody's getting off until the mission is over, which, could be 10 years down the line.
Wow, 10 years.
Yeah. If you want out early, you have to find someone on the secondary market willing to buy your seat.
That visual helps tremendously. Okay, so we've assembled the crew, we've built our vehicle, our rocket ship, or our bus. Pillar 3 is fund strategies, right? So if the structure is the vehicle, the strategy is the route we choose to drive to make money.
Exactly. Are we driving straight down the highway, just buying safe stocks and holding them? Or are we taking a highly aggressive off-road route, shorting companies and betting they will fail?
Yeah, the strategy dictates the actual execution of the journey. But once you're on the road, you need to know how much fuel you have and how fast you're going.
Which is pillar 4, accounting and valuations.
And here is where the syllabus mentions familiarizing yourself with key processes and doing simple calculations. But wait, I have to ask, how hard is it to value a fund? Can't you just, look at the stock market ticker at the end of the day and see what your shares are worth?
Well, if you're only holding publicly traded stocks like Apple or Amazon, yes.
Okay, that's easy.
But what if your closed-ended rocket ship fund is investing in private real estate in Dubai, and a startup tech company in Silicon Valley, and maybe a shipping fleet in Greece?
Oh, none of those have a daily ticker symbol.
Exactly. Valuing those assets, figuring out exactly what they are worth on any given Tuesday so you can report back to your investors, is a highly complex accounting process.
That sounds like a nightmare, honestly. Which naturally leads us to pillar 5, taxation.
Yes, the inevitable taxes.
Because once you figure out what you are worth, the government obviously wants its cut. Now, the source material says learners will study basic principles, including VAT and transfer pricing.
Right, transfer pricing.
I have to push back here. Transfer pricing sounds terrifying.
It does sound intimidating.
It sounds like something a team of elite corporate accountants spends 6 months in a boardroom figuring out. If I am an IT support worker or a newly minted compliance officer taking this course, am I supposed to be doing international corporate tax math?
What's fascinating here is how carefully the syllabus calibrates this. They aren't asking you to be a CPA. Let's demystify transfer pricing because it's actually, it's a very straightforward concept that just gets dressed up in intimidating math.
Okay, lay it on me.
Imagine you own a highly profitable coffee shop in London.
Okay, I like coffee.
You're making millions, which means you are going to owe the UK government a massive amount in taxes.
And I'm already dreading the tax bill.
Right, but you are clever. So you set up a subsidiary company in the Cayman Islands, where the corporate tax rate is 0.
Ah, the classic Cayman Islands move.
Exactly. This Cayman company's only job is to buy coffee beans and sell them to your London shop. Now, the Cayman company charges your London shop an artificially exorbitant price for those beans, say, £100 per bean.
Wait, £100 for one single bean?
Yes.
Okay, so my London shop is spending so much money on these ridiculous beans that it completely wipes out my profit margin.
Exactly. On paper, your London shop makes 0 profit, so it pays 0 UK tax. Meanwhile, your Cayman Islands company is making an absolute fortune selling £100 beans. But because it's in the Caymans, it pays 0 tax there too.
Oh my gosh.
That transaction between 2 branches of the same overarching entity, that is transfer pricing.
Oh, wow. Okay, so when the syllabus says simple calculations, they don't want me to calculate the exact tax burden down to the penny.
No, not at all.
They want me to be able to look at the ledger, see a 100-pound coffee bean, and realize, hey, this is profit shifting.
Yes. They are teaching you to read the dashboard, not rebuild the engine.
That is so clear now.
And that brings us to the final piece, pillar 6, regulations, specifically company law and anti-money laundering, or AML, obligations. And this is where the entire curriculum just snaps together.
How so?
Well, these 6 pillars are not isolated subjects you just memorize for a test. They are a deeply intertwined web.
Connect the dots for me. How does the coffee bean tax dodge affect the money laundering watchdogs?
Let's go back to the beginning of the life cycle. The structure of a fund pillar 2, where it is legally domiciled, directly impacts its taxation, which is pillar 5.
Right.
If a fund uses a highly complex multi-jurisdictional structure with Cayman subsidiaries and Irish holding companies just to, optimize its transfer pricing and avoid VAT, that very same structural complexity creates a massive nightmare for pillar 6, regulation.
Because if the structure is so convoluted that the tax authorities can't figure out who owns what, the compliance officer certainly can't figure out if a Russian oligarch or a cartel boss is hiding their money in there.
Precisely. You cannot possibly evaluate the AML risk of a fund without first understanding its legal structure and its taxation strategy.
The plumbing is all connected.
It's all connected. If a lawyer or an auditor tries to do their job without understanding that entire schematic, they're effectively flying blind. Money launderers exploit the seams between these pillars.
And this course teaches the learner where those seams are. That is genuinely brilliant. It makes the prospect of taking this course much more engaging than just reading a dry textbook on company law.
Oh, for sure.
But that brings us to the logistics of this whole thing, because we have just described a massive, complex web of international finance, law, private valuations, and anti-money laundering regulations.
It's a lot.
That is a heavy lift. So let's talk about the reality of the commitment.
Well, the mechanics outlined in the source material are very specific. The cost is £700 plus tax.
Okay, not cheap, but not insane for professional development.
Right. The format is totally self-paced, interactive e-learning. We are talking about articles, videos, podcasts, and animations. You have access to all the materials for 12 months, but you are expected to complete it in 3.
And the actual time investment.
The source claims this is worth 20 CPD hours. Continuing professional development.
See, this is where I have a serious bone to pick with this syllabus.
Really? 20 hours.
Yes. 20 hours. I mean, I am looking at a curriculum that covers open and closed-ended funds, private asset valuations, transfer pricing, VAT, and international money laundering regulations.
It's quite the list.
20 hours to learn all of that sounds like a recipe for dangerous incompetence. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing, isn't it? For £700, are you getting a deep dive, or are you just taking a jet ski ride over the Mariana Trench?
Well, this raises an important question, right? It's a valid concern, but it raises a question about what mastery actually means in the context of professional education.
Okay.
The course is not promising absolute mastery of high finance. It explicitly calls this a foundational understanding. Think of it as language acquisition.
Language acquisition, how do you mean?
If you move to Tokyo, a 20-hour language course is not going to make you a poet in Japanese.
Right. I'm not writing any haikus.
You aren't going to be writing novels either. But it will give you enough vocabulary to navigate the grocery store, read the street signs, and crucially, know when someone is trying to take advantage of you.
Ah, okay.
That is what this certificate is doing for fund administration. It is giving compliance officers and IT staff the street signs of finance.
Okay, that makes sense. You aren't drafting the international tax policy. You are just learning how to ask the right questions when the tax policy looks suspicious.
Exactly. Look at the assessment they use at the end. It's a 90-minute online exam consisting of 60 multiple-choice questions.
Just 60 multiple-choice questions to conquer the fortress of finance. That feels almost aggressively brief.
It does, but it's rapid-fire recall. It tests whether you know the difference between the public bus and the rocket ship.
Right.
It tests whether you know the basic triggers for an AML review. It is not asking you to write a dissertation on transfer pricing. It's ensuring you have the vocabulary locked into your brain so that, when you're in a high-stakes meeting, you aren't the person furiously Googling acronyms under the table.
That's a fair point. And there is another detail in the source material that I think is a massive perk, especially for our listeners who are constantly balancing work, life, and trying to upskill.
What's that?
There are no formal entry criteria. They note that good written English is preferred, but anyone can start. More importantly, there are absolutely no recertification requirements.
Oh, that is a very significant detail, and it's rare.
It is.
In the financial industry, and frankly in many professional sectors, certifications are essentially recurring revenue models for the organizations that grant them.
So true.
You take the test, you pass, But then you have to log continuing education credits every single year, pay annual dues, and recertify.
It's like a subscription service for your resume.
Yeah,
If you stop paying the monthly fee, you suddenly lose your qualifications.
exactly. But this CLTI certificate is positioned as a permanent badge. Once you pass those 60 questions, you have demonstrated that foundational knowledge permanently.
That's refreshing.
It respects the learner's time and their financial investment. You learn the core principles, you earn the certificated qualification, and it proves your commitment to the industry without locking you into an endless, expensive cycle of exams.
It really is just about getting your foot in the door, which is the reality of most careers anyway, right?
Absolutely.
Once you are inside the room, you are going to learn the nuanced, hyper-specific parts of your job by actually doing the job. You just need a way to open the door without tripping over the threshold.
And that highlights why the varied format of the course is so crucial. By using videos, animations, and podcasts, they are taking what is traditionally dry, gate-kept, regulatory company law and turning it into an accessible, interactive experience.
Right.
It intentionally lowers the barrier to entry for people who might be highly intelligent but are, intimidated by traditional, dense, textbook-heavy financial education.
So what does this all mean for you? Let's bring this right back to you, the listener. If you are someone trying to crack into the financial sector, or maybe you are already in a peripheral role like compliance, software development, or legal support, and you just want to understand the vast machinery behind global wealth, this source material is a revelation.
It really is.
It shows us that the entry point into this seemingly impenetrable world is highly structured. It's surprisingly accessible. It is built for diverse learning styles, and it absolutely does not require you to be a math prodigy.
Definitely not.
It just requires a willingness to dedicate 20 hours to learning a new vocabulary.
It completely demystifies the process of high finance.
It really does. It takes that intimidating fortress of glass and steel with its moats of jargon and acronyms and shows you exactly where the service elevator is. But as we wrap up, looking at this whole curriculum, it leaves me with a lingering thought.
What stands out to you the most?
Well, we established earlier that the financial industry, historically, has used its complex structures and heavy jargon as a gatekeeping mechanism, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It maintains this incredible mystique about what happens on Wall Street or in the City of London to justify the massive fees and the exclusivity.
The moat is very profitable for the people inside the castle.
Exactly. But if the fundamental interconnected plumbing of global wealth, the structures, the strategies, the complex tax maneuvers, and the money laundering regulations can actually be mapped out in a 20-hour self-paced e-learning course and verified by a 60-question multiple-choice exam, well, it makes you wonder about the future of that fortress.
In what sense?
If the baseline logic of this trillion-dollar industry is formulaic enough to be distilled into a 700-pound foundational certificate, how long until artificial intelligence is simply doing the job of the people taking this course?
Wow.
Right. If spotting a transfer pricing anomaly or an AML trigger is just a matter of knowing the baseline rules of the vehicle, an AI can learn those rules in 20 seconds, not 20 hours.
That is a highly provocative thought. We treat these financial structures as human arts, but at their core, they are just rule-based systems. And as this syllabus proves, the rules are knowable.
Exactly. The knowledge is right there, waiting to be accessed. You just have to be willing to learn the language. And once you do, you start to see the pipes, the valves, and exactly how the whole machine operates before the machines take it over entirely. Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.